What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the bipartisan physical infrastructure package, the government shutdown package, which is combined with the debt limit ceiling package, which is going to be voted on potentially tomorrow in the Senate. We also have the bipartisan infrastructure package that is going to be voted on potentially tomorrow in the House. Two different votes that are going to be going on tomorrow in the House. We discussed that as well as money, investing, the stimulus package, pretty much everything you need to know about on this show. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you updated with daily news and this next stimulus package, the government shutdown, the debt limit ceiling. Yeah, there's a lot going on. We have three potential votes going on here as early as tomorrow and this upcoming week, with the government shutdown, the debt limit ceiling, the bipartisan infrastructure package, and the stimulus package all going on this upcoming week. Yeah, we got a lot going on here. In fact, we had a vote last night. Check this out. Also, if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. It really helps out our channel. Okay, last night you can see the House of Representatives panel subcommittee advanced a $3.5 trillion spending bill with a vote in the subcommittee. Check this out. The Democratic-led subcommittee passed the package in a 20-17 vote on Saturday afternoon, piecing together the chunks of the legislation approved by the 13 committees earlier this month that make up the spending plan as an essential cornerstone of President Biden's economic agenda. So again, they passed this this piece of the package in a 20-17 vote. One of the Democrats actually voted against it. Democrat Representative Scott Peters, a Democrat from California, joined the Republicans in voting against the package. That is now at least 4 different Democrats that have voted against the package in the subcommittee voting, which is the subcommittee voting is basically different subcommittees that vote on different pieces of the legislation, which they are then go to put together the bill, the final bill, which they'll be doing this week and voting on it this week. Check this out. House Democrats ready the reconciliation package, aka the stimulus package, for floor vote next week. Procedural steps lay the groundwork for further negotiations on the reconciliation and the infrastructure bills, and they will be readying the reconciliation package for a floor vote next week or this upcoming week, either however you want to word it. Yeah, there's going to be a lot going on here. And to give us more information on this and some crazy stuff you're going to hear here is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In fact, she's actually going to say some things here that I think are wrong. And I don't normally say this, but I think some things she's going to say here are going to turn out to be wrong. And you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Nancy Pelosi has not given a lot of interviews. If you see, I tend to show the interviews from some Republicans, some Democrats. And remember, Democrats are passing the stimulus package on their own. All the Republicans are going to vote no on this stimulus package. All the Republicans voted no on the third stimulus check package as well. The Democrats passed the third stimulus package on their own, as well as this next stimulus package. But we have not heard a lot out of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who is the leader of the House of Representatives. But I think a couple of the things she's going to say here are going to kind of throw you for a loop. And I kind of think that a couple of the things she's going to say here are wrong. I may be wrong, she may be wrong, but I'll let you make up your mind here with a couple of the things she's going to say here. Let me know your thoughts. Here she is, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In a rare interview, she has not been given many of these. Here she is.
A week that may be make or break for President Biden's ambitious agenda. More than $1 trillion for infrastructure investments, another $3 trillion plus to address climate change, child care, education, and more. All this as the government shutdown looms on Friday, plus the prospect of America defaulting for the first time in history if Congress does not soon authorize government borrowing to pay past debts. At the center of it all, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who joins us this week from the Capitol. Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Good morning, George. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today.
So I just laid out a pretty daunting list right there. You've called the next few days a time of intensity for Congress. Have you ever faced a challenge with so much at stake?
Every time we face a challenge, you say it's an historic challenge, whether it's passing the Affordable Care Act or other legislation that we passed in the previous administration. It's all the wonderful legislative process that we have. But I thank you for calling this President Biden's agenda, because that's exactly what it is. This is the vision of the president, and he has said that while he wants to pass the infrastructure bill, and we will, he will not confine his vision for the future to just that bill, that it had to be about building back better. And building back better has the support of over 95% of our caucus. So when you say Democrats divided, no, they're overwhelmingly, I've never seen actually over 95% of the caucus just about for anything. There are some who disagree, and I respect that about the size of the package, and so some in the Senate, a couple in the Senate as well, and we have to find our common ground, respectful of each other's views. But this isn't about moderates versus progressives. Overwhelmingly, the entirety of our caucus, except for a few whose judgment I respect, support the vision of Joe Biden, and we will make progress on it this week.
So make progress, not necessarily pass. You said you have support of 95% of Democrats. The problem is you need 98 or 99% to pass the bills. And I know you said the infrastructure bill is going to pass, but the leader of the Progressive Caucus in the House, Jamila Prayapal, is balking. She said on Friday that voting on this bill tomorrow is an arbitrary date, adding that more than 50 members will vote no if you first don't have agreement on the broader social investment bill. So are you confident these progressive members are going to vote yes, even though she says no?
Well, let me just say we're going to pass the bill this week. I promised that we would bring the bill to the floor. That was according to the language that those who wanted this to be brought to the floor tomorrow wrote into the rule. We will bring the bill to the floor tomorrow for consideration. But you know, I'm never bringing a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes. And I think any time you put an arbitrary date, well, remember when the Republicans said they were going to overturn the Affordable Care Act on the anniversary of the Affordable Care Act? I knew right then and then they were doomed. You cannot choose the date. You have to go when you have the votes in a reasonable time, and we will. And I do believe that we will do. First of all, let me just say it's an eventful week. First of all, we have to make sure, just chronologically, we have to make sure we keep government open, and we will. Second of all, we have to honor the vision of President Biden, and we thank him for his leadership and his courage putting forth such a bold package. In order to move forward, we have to build consensus. It's not winners, losers. It's bring people together, and that's what we always do in the Democratic Party. And what President has put forth will create many, many more good-paying jobs, especially in terms of addressing the climate crisis, which has not been fully addressed in the infrastructure bill. It will lower costs for families by lowering the cost of prescription drugs for seniors and healthcare costs across the board. It will give one of the largest tax cuts for the middle class with the Biden child tax credit, and it will be paid for by making everyone pay their fair share. Lower cost, tax cuts, paid for, more jobs for the American people.
Okay, so a couple things I want to point out here. Number one, she says that she is going to prevent a government shutdown, that the government's not going to shut down. I am not so sure about that. Okay, the government shutdown is going to happen in T-minus 4 days. T-minus 4 days. I am not so sure that it's going to happen. Okay, and then remember, there's the government shutdown on September 30th at midnight, and then there's also the government default. Okay, so she says she's going to prevent a government shutdown. Okay, on Monday in the Senate, they're going to vote on that. She said that they're going to prevent a government shutdown. I honestly don't think that's going to happen. It's just my thoughts, okay? I think they're going to vote on it in the Senate. I think it's going to fail, okay? I don't think we're going to see any Republicans pass that bill. They're going to need 10 Republicans to pass that bill. I think Nancy Pelosi is wrong on that one. Again, it's just a kind of a thought or a prediction because I can't predict the future. But I think that the Republicans are going to vote no. I think we're going to see 50 Democrats vote yes on that bill. We're going to see 50 Republicans vote no. We may get 1 or 2 Republicans to vote yes, but we're going to need 10 Republicans to vote yes, and that bill is going to fail in the Senate. That's a combined government shutdown and a debt limit ceiling bill, and that bill is going to fail. So that's going to leave us now 3 or 4 days for a government shutdown bill and a debt limit ceiling bill. And then since that bill is going to fail, the only other way to prevent a government shutdown and a debt limit ceiling bill is going to be to pass the stimulus package. And that means that the stimulus package is going to have to be voted on in the House and in the Senate. Okay, and I just don't know if that's going to happen before September 30th, that entire process. So Nancy Pelosi seems to think that they're going to prevent a government shutdown. I don't think that's going to happen. You let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. So that's number one. Here's number two. Nancy Pelosi says on the infrastructure bill, quote, and you heard her say this, "I'm never bringing a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes." Now, this is interesting because she said that on Monday, they're bringing the infrastructure bill to the floor. But on the other hand, Representative Jayapal, who's the leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, says the votes are not there to pass the infrastructure bill on Monday. So let's just put two and two together here. Nancy Pelosi says, "I'm never bringing a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes," but they're voting on the infrastructure bill on Monday. And Jayapal says that the votes are not there to pass the infrastructure bill on Monday. So if we just put two and two together, Nancy Pelosi says, "I'm not bringing a bill to the floor to pass I'm never bringing a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes." But they are voting on the bill on Monday, unless something drastically changes. But Jayapal says that the votes are not there, so the bill's going to fail. So either Nancy Pelosi's wrong or something drastically is going to change. So I think Nancy Pelosi could be wrong on two accounts there. Number one, that she says she's never going to bring a bill to the floor that fails. I think she could be wrong there on Monday. And two, that they're going to keep government open. I think we're going to see a government shutdown at the least. Now, whether or not we're going to see a government default sometime in October, that's a different story. But let me know your thoughts on these two things down below in the comments, because I just don't know if they're going to have enough time for this stuff. Now, of course, it would be easier if the Republicans would just vote yes to prevent a government shutdown and a government default. But of course, I don't think we're going to get any Republicans to vote yes. The Republicans are going to vote no. The Republicans are essentially going to vote to let our country default and to let our government shut down. I can't make this stuff up, guys. So where does that leave us?
The question is, can you get everybody to agree to that? If I heard you correctly, you're saying the vote will not necessarily be tomorrow on the infrastructure bill. You're going to put it up when you have the votes to pass it.
Yeah, it may be tomorrow.
It may be tomorrow, but right. But let me just say, in order to get the votes to pass it, it sounds like you're going to need agreement on the broader social investment bill.
Absolutely.
Build back.
You're right. You're
And
absolutely
so that
right.
is going to happen this week as well?
Well, we're, let me just say, we're prepared, we're ready. Yesterday, the Budget Committee passed out the Build Back Better legislation at the full $3.5 trillion, that was the number that was sent to us by the Senate and by the President. Obviously, with negotiations, there'll have to be some changes in that. The sooner, the better, so that we can build our consensus to go forward. And we will do that. The American people need that to happen, and that's the overwhelming for the people agenda.
The holdouts in the Senate, of course, everyone knows Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, at least those two. Joe Manchin says $3.5 trillion is way too much, and it doesn't necessarily have to pass this year. Kyrsten Sinema says she's not going to support any increases in income taxes or corporate taxes. Have you made progress on those issues? It doesn't sound like it.
Well, Chuck Schumer and I and Secretary Yellen the other day came forward in a press event and said that we had reached a framework of agreement. People said, well, what are the specific? Well, we'll see what we need. We'll see how the number comes down and what we need in that regard. But we have agreed on an array of pay-fors in the legislation. This will be paid for. So when some say, oh, well, what about inflation? It will be paid for. And that's the beauty of it, by having those in our economy and society who have not paid their fair share paying their fair share. So again, the Senate and the House, those who are not in full agreement with the president's rate, let's see what our value, let's not talk about numbers and dollars, let's talk about values.
You know what's interesting about Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema? Figure this one out. The Republicans may have actually helped out the Democrats passing the stimulus package. Figure this one out. So Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, even more so Joe Manchin, are saying, oh, he doesn't want to do 3.5 trillion. He wants to do maybe more like 1.5 trillion. That's probably his starting number. He'd probably negotiate somewhere in the middle. But now Republicans are forcing the Democrats to pass this debt limit ceiling and this government shutdown because they're probably going to vote no on this this combined package or bill for the government shutdown and debt limit ceiling on Monday. So they're going to force the Democrats to do it with the reconciliation bill with the stimulus package, right? So that's going to probably force Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema to have to vote yes on this stimulus package. So think about that. So if Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema were maybe thinking about voting no, or maybe thinking about holding out on the stimulus package, this is going to force Joe Manchin to vote yes and Kirsten Sinema to vote yes on this stimulus package, and to compromise. And they're going to have to vote yes because of the government shutdown and the debt limit ceiling. So if anything, if you think about this, the Republicans are actually forcing Joe Manchin's hand and Kirsten Sinema's to vote yes on the stimulus package faster and to agree with the Democrats because we can't have the government default. And if we do, it's a cataclysmic event. It's a catastrophic event. So if anything, if you kind of think about this going forward in the future here a few days, the Republicans are actually forcing Joe Manchin's hand and Kirsten Sinema. I think Joe Manchin's a little bit more of the extremist here in the situation. Kirsten Sinema, yeah, but I think Joe Manchin's a little bit more of the worst offender here. The Republicans are actually forcing them to vote yes on the stimulus package because they've kind of bundled in the debt limit ceiling and the government shutdown, assuming that this Monday vote in the Senate doesn't pass. So if this Monday vote for the combined debt limit ceiling and government shutdown bill in the Senate doesn't pass, that's forcing the Democrats to add it into the stimulus package. That forces Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema to vote yes, and it forces all the House Republicans, or I'm sorry, the House Democrats to vote yes to the stimulus package as well, and to do it with more urgency. Like, hey, we have to pass it now because we have to prevent a government shutdown. We may see a government shutdown for a few days or something like that, but we can't see a debt limit. We can't see a government default. We just can't. It's like the worst thing ever. It's like it's a financial collapse. We can't see it. It would be terrible. It'd be the worst thing to happen since 1929. It would be terrible. I don't know how else to explain it. It would be the worst thing ever. So if anything, it's going to force some of these moderate Democrats to get on their horse, as my father would say, and compromise and do it faster. Yeah, let me know your thoughts.
Is the solution to paying for it a carbon tax?
There's an array of issues that are there. I'm not going to be, let's see what we need to have. And there are those who have suggested that. So when I say we're ready, we've investigated, or shall we say, documented everything that we need to be ready with legislative language to go forward. And I'm very excited about the hard work that everybody did. We stayed on schedule. They said you couldn't do it by September 15th. We did. We have our budget committee yesterday taking the work of the committees and putting it forward. We've been carefully trying to see what could be birdable. You know, in the House, I'm used to negotiating with the White House or among ourselves and with the Senate, but we don't negotiate with the parliamentarian. She will make judgments about something that might violate the bird rule or provisions of privilege, whatever that is. And that's a bath that legislation has to take. So all of these things are in place. We're trying to get them be as ready as possible. We are ready on our side. We just have to see how quickly the parliamentarian can operate.
I know the budget committee passed a resolution calling for 3.5 trillion, but it sounds like you acknowledge that the final number is going to be somewhat smaller than that.
Yeah, I mean, that seems self-evident. That seems self-evident. And so it's not just, we have some, shall we say, bird bath, privilege, kinds of things. It's legislation. So the fact is that this is the excitement of it all. It's just in real time and exploitation of a few people not in agreement being called a division in the Democratic Party. Everybody overwhelmingly, and I think even those who want a smaller number, support the vision of the president. And this is really transformative. It's transformative for women when you think about child care and child tax credit and family medical leave and universal pre-K and home health care. How much in agreement are we on that? When you talk about the climate crisis, which we have a responsibility, again, to the children, but to our faith to protect God's creation, this planet, how much do you want to spend on that? So that adding up what our priorities are should take us to a number where we find common ground. Can we shorten the time or some other things to make the number smaller? That's our discussion now, but we're ready for it.
You said the government is going to stay open. Are you as confident that the government is going to avoid default? Because Republicans have made it very clear they're not going to provide any votes.
Isn't that irresponsible beyond words? The full faith and credit of the United States should not be questioned. That's in the Constitution of the United States, 14th Amendment. So look at that. It's in the Constitution of the United States. There is a school of thought that says we don't even have to have these votes, but we do. As of now, we still do have to have it. And we cooperated on 3 occasions when President Trump was president in order to lift the debt ceiling. Even to have the discussion that it could possibly be in default, it did the last time, lowered our credit rating. Who said it more articulately than Mitch McConnell at the time? You cannot play Russian roulette with the debt ceiling and the well-being of our economy. So
he's willing to eat that right now. Are you confident Democrats can pass it on their own?
Well, we want this to be bipartisan. If we didn't want it to be bipartisan, we would have put it in the reconciliation bill. That would have been a decision we had to make when we wrote the Budget Act, but nonetheless, the decision was made that it would always be bipartisan, whether on our part, as we have cooperated in the past with Republican presidents, or on their part. It is totally irresponsible. And I would think that the business community would speak out on this because it has devastating impact on our credit rating as well as global economy. This is beyond a big deal. So let's hope that the Republicans will find enough of them find some level of responsibility to our country to honor what's in the Constitution, that we not question the full faith and credit of the United States of America. They know full well what the consequences are. They preached it when the former president was in office, and we always cooperated. It's always been bipartisan, and it should be again.
Madam Speaker, thanks for your time this morning.
So it sounds like they don't have the debt limit ceiling in the reconciliation bill at this point, raising the debt limit ceiling or government shutdown. That's probably because they're going to be voting on that on Monday and they don't know if it's going to pass. I mean, that would make sense. So again, they can always add this in at the last minute. They're expecting to be voting on the stimulus package at some point this upcoming week. They're supposed to be voting on a government shutdown bill and raising the debt limit ceiling to prevent the government from defaulting. Remember, government shutdown and government defaulting and running out of money are 2 different issues, but they're in a combined bill. Government shutdown will happen on September 30th at midnight. Government defaulting and running out of money because they have to raise the debt limit ceiling to be able to issue new money and to pay the interest on all of our past debts. Will happen sometime in October. An estimate is around October 15th, but that doesn't mean it can't happen earlier. That's just an estimate. They're going to be voting on that in the Senate on Monday. But all the Republicans are saying that they're not going to vote yes on it, and they will need 10 Republican votes to pass that. So that will happen in the Senate on Monday, a vote on that. The bipartisan infrastructure bill is expected to happen on Monday. That doesn't mean it can't be pulled, but it's expected to be happen on Monday. And the stimulus package is expected to be voted on sometime this upcoming week as well. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of things coming up this week. Do not miss any episodes. I will keep you up to date. Also, I will plan on having a special guest appearance for you guys in the next episode tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. There's a lot of stuff coming out here literally by the hour, so don't miss any episodes at this point. New videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. I will keep you up to date with everything going on in our country and with this next stimulus package, the infrastructure package, the debt limit showdown, and the government shutdown, which will happen here in less than 4 days. 4 days, 3.5 days. Yeah, so I'll keep you up to date. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how there's a petition to add $1,400 stimulus checks into this next stimulus package. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.